we really do need to see that jazz, in all its particular elements, gets a renewed respect, because people need to appreciate what you're doing, what you've been doing for all these years. And our kids and their education or lack thereof that they get in the schools, man, people need to understand how crucial it is. You just talked about your dad and how immersed he was in math. And the correlation between music and mathematics, people don't think about that stuff, do they?
Trish, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I have been on my, I don't know what you call it, a band stool or whatever, on my soapbox about that type of thing. One of the things that I've done through my life at this point is to be involved in education. I worked with the school district of Philadelphia for about 5 years. At one point as Title I reading aide. Also non-teaching assistant to some degree. I had different assignments here and there, throughout the years. Also with an alternative school out in West Philly, where I taught 7th, 8th, and 9th graders math, reading, English. And that's, it was really enlightening because at that point we had music programs still within the school. But then over the years, and even just over the last few years, I've noticed that there's been severe budget cuts in school districts, and they seem to always attack the music programs, and they cut them out. And it just kills me to see that because, like you said, there's that correlation between math and music.
Oh, yes.
Rhythmic notation, these things, it's important for, I think, for young people to be able to experience what music brings to the table when you're trying to learn new things in school, especially with young children, because it's just so devastating to see that a lot of young kids aren't able to experience that uniqueness of music, whether it be singing or playing whatever type of instrument it might be.
Yes.
And seeing how just the motor coordination as well sometimes helps a person and their academic skills increase, and how their mentality just goes to a different level. They have a different awareness about their lives in general. And I'm glad you mentioned that.
Oh, gosh. And Vel, even more important than that, one of the most glaring examples of the importance that you've just described and more is when I had Dante Winslow here on the show. He's with Justin Timberlake, but he also has his own scenario going on with his Winslow dynasty. He and his beautiful wife, Mashika, who sings, Dante, amazing on that trumpet, was able to learn how to play at a very young age. And when I tell you that his childhood was horrible, that's a capital H. The abuse that he suffered, the poverty that he suffered, the shuffling around, what saved him was being able to escape with that trumpet. It saved his sanity.
I can understand that.
All of these kids, and like your mom, she knew because she had that background. She wanted you and your brother to play an instrument because she knew that it would be always a place for you as a retreat through the years.
Right. And like you said, an escape out of a bad situation.
Yes.
Because even growing up in the area of Philadelphia that I grew up in, it was rough, very rough. And I saw so many levels of roughness as I grew up, where things just escalated and it got worse and worse and worse. And my mother kept me out of the neighborhood. even though, I'm still close friends even to this day with some of the neighbors that lived on the block. I think you actually had a little message here on Facebook with the guy, Rod Murray. He grew up with us as well on the block, and can attest to this. It was really hard lifestyle growing up, but being able to have something to go out of the neighborhood too, where I could go to music lessons and catch the bus and go downtown to Center City to be with my teachers and spend hours with them and just learning music, and going to choir rehearsals with the all-boys choir. Dad would sometimes drop me off and pick me up, whatever. So I had that out to be able to come out of a bad situation into something that I could appreciate.
Absolutely. And how on earth do we expect our children to want to continue to go to school if there's not an element of something in the schools that brings them joy? How?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Oh, you hit the nail on the head.
God.
Absolutely.
So, we have to find different ways of being squeaky wheels who get the grease here, because this is critical. It's not a luxury. It's not superfluous. It's urgently needed, because if we want to raise well-rounded individuals who become healthy adults, music has to be a key factor in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we'll have to have an ongoing discussion of that, Vel Lewis. There's no question about it.
You've got my number.
Yeah. Maybe there's something that we can do. Gosh, there's so much to discuss here, isn't there? Oh, God.
Yes. You're right.
So what is the next step for you? Describe in ways that you can. Maybe there's some things you can't discuss, but how does the rest of your 2014 unfold?
I have plans to release another EP, and
cool.
Hopefully I can do it in the fall. We'll see what God brings, but the tracks are just about done. And
good.
Yeah, there's some good stuff, and actually going to be doing some vocals.
See, that's a good thing. You know what? I really want to explore the possibility of your vocals. I mean, when you were with the Futures, did you sing?
Mm-hmm. Well, not with the frontline singers, because the Futures at that time was an 11-member group. So there were 6 in the band and 5 singers, which we called frontline. But what we would do is warm up the audience, the band would. So we had our own show, which was why later we broke away to become what was later known as the Life Group. And we had choreography that we used on stage. I sang vocals, sometimes background, sometimes lead. The percussionist sang lead and would do some James Brown stuff every now and then, like the Sex Machine. We used to open a place up with Sex Machine and just drive everybody nuts. And the good thing I really loved about that group was the band was so tight. We were James Brown fanatics. I mean, we broke down James Brown music to the point where we knew what type of snare was being used and how tight the snare head was on the drum, and what type of amplifiers they were using, and we wanted to have the same kind of amplifiers. And we had 2 guitars playing in the band, and we knew which guitarist was going to play rhythm, the other one was going to play the rhythmic notations going on through the songs, and it was just fun all the time with that band. But yes, indeed, I started back then doing some vocals with the band and kept doing it.
See, that's another side of you. My God, multi-instrumentalist and vocalist and producer, arranger, composer. It's just crazy. Maybe you just described it, but what has been the coolest thing that ever has happened in your long career? What's the coolest thing, or the thing that still gives you a rush when you contemplate it?
When Dionne Warwick called me.
Oh.
I wasn't expecting it. I met her during a rehearsal. My brother was, as I said, he's been working with her for a number of years, and he just asked me to come join him on the East Coast, because we've got a lot of family still on the East Coast. And they were doing a show, I believe it was in Atlantic City, possibly at one of the casinos there. And I had some time away from the office at that point, because I was working a job then, but also still doing music, for TV shows and stuff. So I said, sure, yeah, I'll fly him back. So came back for the weekend so I could see family. So he said, come on over to the casino. We're going to do sound check at about 2 o'clock. I said, all right, fine. So I just kind of hanging there watching him put his drums together. And Dion's son, David Elliott, was sitting at the piano and just going through some chord changes, I guess, on the song he was working on. And my brother looked over at David and said, hey, David, my brother plays keyboard, so he plays piano. Oh, really? Oh, hey, well, come on over here and sit down. Like, okay. David, I noticed you were playing these chords here like this, and I thought you might want to make a change like this. Oh, that's what I was looking for. That's the chord I was looking for. Hey, Mom, check this guy out here. I was like, Mom, and then she's walking across the stage. And
oh, my.
You know the term cold sweat? I got it real quick. Real quick. I just got flush, and I could feel the sweat coming, and I'm feeling this cold. And, oh, no. And she said, well, okay, let me hear it. Like, okay. Bite my lips here. Okay, yeah, I was playing chords like this. Okay, and I did this change here. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. And then she just walked on over to the front of the stage to grab her mic and do the sound check that they were there to do. And I finished the song and got up and said, wow, I hope she liked it. Just went on backstage and relaxed, to get over the nervousness that I was going through at the time.
That's so funny.
So, yeah, so later on, I think maybe a week or so went by. I was coming home after being at a doctor's appointment earlier for a checkup, and the phone rang, so I picked up the phone. Hello. Hi, this is Dionne Warwick calling.
What? Oh, my God.
I just wanted to tell you, I really liked hearing what I heard the other day when you were there with your brother, and wanted to know if you might be interested in going on a world tour with me.
Get out.
Okay, sure. No hesitation, sure, okay. And
oh, my.
He said, well, I need to get some information from you so I can give to my bookkeeper. I need your address and your Social Security number. I said, okay. So I gave her the Social Security number and said, okay, well, my address, and read it off to her. And at the time, I was living in San Jose, California. So when I got to saying San Jose, she said, oh, do you know the way, baby?
That is so cool. Oh, my God.
Classic line.